afternoon to you. It's a privilege to be back with you again. And I was with you last year and get a chance to share back again. But part of passing the baton is to equip the next generation to carry that baton once they get it. I learned a long time ago, take the gospel in all the world takes three things. Number one, people to go. Number two is people to pray. Number three is people to give. I come to you not as a prophet today. The reason I don't come as a prophet is because I read in the book one time what happens to prophets when they're wrong. Did you read that book? But we're a little concerned about what happens to the next generation financially as we pass the wealth of this generation to the next generation, along with the responsibilities of the gospel to that next generation. And you're getting a pass out that's just simply some things that we're going to be talking about for real briefly. Now, I don't have time today to go into detail on all these statistics and the concerns that I have, but I just want to overview them and come to the solution which we believe is the valid solution for these problems. When you look at the generational transfers that we talked about before, as far as the numbers with AMG and the donor base of AMG, ministry partner base of AMG, we find that when the generation numbers come down, there are 48 million of our generation, my generation. Pat, we call us as mature generation, so your generation should have a little more respect for us, I hope. Okay? We had 78 million babies. You see 81 million on the list as far as boomers. They call them boomers. The rest of them came in across the border or over the ocean. Those 78 million boomers that we had as our children also had 78 million babies, but unfortunately they aborted 40 million of them, which leaves just 38 million of that generation. Why is that important to us today? I think that's radically important to taking the gospel into all the world. Because when you look at the statistics of what happens to our economy, this is purely theory, but I think it's educated theory, that 70% of all the economy is driven by retail. We know that, don't we? Product without sales equals scrap. Nothing happens until somebody buys something. 70% of the economy is driven by retail. 70% of the growth of the economy comes from disposable income. Not the economy, the basic economy itself, but the growth of the economy. 70% of that comes from disposable income, and 70% of disposable income comes between the ages of 47 and 65. The house paid for, children in college, out of college, prior to retirement. Why is that important for us? It's radically important because where do we get the money to spread the gospel? The vast majority of support of organizations like AMG comes from disposable income. That's the reason you saw on the screen that Pat put up there originally. The number of people that support AMG are in the disposable income areas. When you looked at, what was it, Pat, 80-some% of all support of AMG comes from disposable income generation. The baby boomer is now retiring. 78 million or 81 million baby boomers have been supporting my 48 million mature generation and are already bellyaching about having to support us in retirement, Medicare, and Social Security. You realize that you have to earn $147,000 a year in the United States before entitlements are less than income taxes, where income taxes are more than entitlements. And that's with 81 million boomers supporting 48 million of us in retirement. Our concern is what's going to happen when the 81 million boomers retire. And ladies and gentlemen, that started this year. The boomer turned 65 this year. 10,000 boomers are applying for Social Security each and every day in the United States. And when you look at this bell curve at the bottom here, what's going to happen when the 81 million boomers are retired and being supported by 38 million Xers? What's going to happen to disposable income? Is there going to be sufficient there? Is there going to be sufficient there to support the kingdom taking the gospel into all the world? Now, there is hope. The hope is simply this. Go to... Excuse me, the way my papers were listed on there. There is extreme hope. And the extreme hope comes from three reasons. Number one, God has put a divine veil over our charitable tax code. To we in this country, the United States, has the only capital gains tax avoidance tool, charitable gifts. The only estate tax avoidance tool, charitable gifts. The only tax avoidance tool in the $4.7 trillion of retirement assets that's going to be transferred in this generation is charitable gifts. God has given us, by divine appointment in this country, a very favorable charitable tax code. That's going to be applied when the largest transfer of capital wealth that has ever taken place is now taking place in this generation. And I'll show you a slide on that in just a minute, and we'll talk about that amount of transfer of capital wealth that's being taking place. While one of the great prophets of this country is calling the country together for prayer and fasting, he says that God is going to call revival to come to this country, not because we are the center of the evangel any longer, but we're the only country, the only nation in the world sufficiently financially equipped to support the evangel as they go into all the world. Is that all happening coincidental with the greatest transfer of capital wealth, with the curse that's coming from the taxation of entitlements of this country? It's going to become upon the financial world. The third thing that happened to us is that while we're making this transfer of capital wealth, and it's estimated at 10.4 trillion is the amount of money being transferred in this generational transfer, while that is taking place, we are transferring that to the first generation, who we have created a debt larger than the transfer of capital wealth. The debt of this country is now between the 14 and 15 trillion dollar mark. And so we're leaving to the next generation a debt in excess of the transfer of wealth to that generation. So what am I trying to say? I'm just trying to paint a picture. It's not too pleasant of a picture. But it's trying to paint a picture that if we're going to pass the baton of the evangelism of the world, of the ministry of organizations like AMG, which you have for your lifetime has been very much involved with, we're going to have to figure out some way to capitalize that. Because people to pray and people to give and people to go. We've got people to go and we've got people praying for them. But is there going to be finances to buy the airplane ticket, to print the Bible, to do the work of the gospel in the next generation? I would suggest to you that the answer to that is contingent upon the capital wealth transfer between these generations. How do we transfer our wealth from this generation to the next generation without tax implications, without probate, without delays? How do we transfer a portion of that capital during our lifetime and at the time of our death to organizations directly, so they will have the capitalization of the support that we have already been doing ourselves? Let me say that a different way. When you leave this earth, the wealth in which you're going to be transferred to the next generation, is there going to be sufficient amount of that wealth pulled over to charitable organizations to continue that, so the next generation is not obligated to pay what we have started? But can they take their gifts in addition to that and expand the preaching of the gospel, so we will complete the Great Commission to the next generation? That is a secret of whether or not we're going to pass the baton, I think. I'll use that as an entry system to share with you simply, again, which I did last year, a service that AMG has available to you to help you with the transfer of that capital wealth. We call it an estate design process, where we sit down with people in the circumstances exactly like yours and talk to you about who are your peoples, who are your charities, who's financially dependent upon you as family, who's you want to give to as friends and family because of love, and who are your charitable organizations. We talk to you about what do you own, how do you own it, when did you buy it, what did you pay for it, and what's it worth today, an inventory of your financial process. We take that financial process and say, if death would have occurred last night, how would you want the property divided among the people today? What are your plans? And what are your passions for your family? What are your passions for your charities? We take that information back to our office and provide for you what we call an estate design, where we take that information, rehearse it back to you in printed form with a spiritual paradigm and say to you, if you will do these particular things, this is what your estate plan should look like. This is an estate design. It's like building a house. You don't just start nailing 2x4s together, but you go to somebody who knows how to draw a picture of a house. Say I want 3 bedrooms, I want 2.5 baths, I want a fireplace and a family room, and I'll draw you a picture of a house with 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and a fireplace and a family room. And you ladies will say, I want more kitchen cabinets, I want more closet space. You guys will get your grumpy voice on and say, if you have all those kitchen cabinets, going to have me barbecue grill out there on the back deck. We'll work with you and change it till it's exactly what you believe God wants you to do with that which He's entrusted to you. Then this is what you take to the contractor, your own attorney, your own financial people, and say, how much is it going to cost to complete this? For most of you, this will be a second opinion on the existing estate plan that you already have in existence. I'll just simply give you the feeling that it is spiritually sound and it is mechanically sound, or will accomplish what you wish to accomplish, or will add to it some critiques that will help you do a better job of doing what you're going to do. For some of you, the first time you've gone through this process, it'll be a complete new estate plan for you. But either way, you'll come out with the satisfaction of knowing that this is spiritually sound, is financially sound, and accomplishes what you wish to accomplish. As a result of this, we will show you how to take dollars that would typically go to the probate court, typically go to the taxation and estate taxes, capital gains taxes, taxes on retirement plans, and move that to the kingdom source so they will replace your current giving to the kingdom after you're gone and been with the Father. And by doing this, you need to know that there is no cost to it. It is a ministry of AMG for those of you that have been faithfully supporting us for these years. We just simply want to bid this as a service to you. We have nothing to sell to you. There's no way you can pay for it. There's no product to sell. There's no mutual funds, no annuities, no life insurance policies in our back pocket. And we'll never tell you who to give to. We'll never tell you how much to give. We just simply will serve you as a mature steward in helping you accomplish what you believe God wants you to accomplish in that process. How you get plugged into this service is the back page of the materials you have in front of you. It says, looks like this. Didn't realize when we set up this equipment that I had an obstacle trying to get the papers off the camera. It's not working as smoothly as we thought it would. It says, if you'll fill out that form and get it back to Pat or to whoever's manning the table there when you exit, we'll get you a guide to planning your estate. The guide to planning your estate is 2 pieces of information. Number 1 is a guide, 26-page guide. But the second part of that is an inventory form for you to gather the data that we talked about of who are your people, who are your charities, what is your property, and what are your plans, and what are your passions. You fill out the inventory form, get it back to us, and that's what we utilize as the data to conduct the estate design for you and complete the estate design for your personalization. Then we'll come back and sit down with you and explain what we were talking about, what we are suggesting for you to do. It's your convenience. It's your agenda. So fill out that form, get it back to us, let us do an estate design for you. By doing so, we'll take some of that capital that's being transferred in this generation cancer, use that to endow or to capitalize your support that you're currently giving to organizations like AMG. So the next generation, as they continue to giving generosity to AMG, will be over and above that which you are currently doing. So we will expand the gospel and will complete it in the next generation. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to being of service to you in any way I possibly can.